Welcome back once again. Dr. Jay Sordean flew all the way from California to talk to us today about Alzheimer's. He has come up with a formula that he says will help prevent the disease. He also has a book that you can pre-order. Welcome, doctor. And you know, you're talking about a lot of different things in your book. We've got a very short segment to talk with you about, but you also have some great information of some basic steps that can help folks from getting Alzheimer's, correct?
As you know, Ronald Reagan, Margaret Thatcher, and Nelson Mandela all are famous people who've had Alzheimer's. And it affects 1 in 8 Americans. And I know that you have that personal experience you mentioned before, too. And so there are 3 things that I've found that are very important for people to try to avoid in order to reduce the chances of getting dementia.
So 3 things to try to avoid from getting dementia. What are those?
That's exactly right. Well, the first one is what I call the John Belushi. Because John was a rather large person. He was a comedian, but actually Alzheimer's is not a funny thing at all, as you know. So this is 5 pounds of fat.
And I lifted it up a little while ago, and it feels like 50 pounds of fat, but that's 5 pounds of fat.
This is only 5 pounds of fat. And the more fat people have, the more dementia is likely to occur. This is only 5 pounds. Some people are carrying around 10 or 20 times this amount, and that's really unbelievable. So the more of this, the smaller this becomes.
The brain itself.
The brain itself.
Okay.
The second thing we call the Prince Charles. And that has to do with, because, you know, there's some jokes about his dental care and all. So the teeth themselves, if they become inflamed or infection, it can gradually go up into the sinuses and affect the brain too, and cause dementia and the breakdown in the brain.
And actually, if a dental infection is infected enough, it can actually cause death.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's very dangerous for that. So taking care of the teeth is very important, not only for dental care, but also for the brain. Then we also have what we call the Three Stooges. Now, the Three Stooges, they would have a slap up against the head, or like, you know, on NCIS, they would...
Trauma of sorts.
Traumas, exactly, traumas. And also whiplash injuries can cause damage to the meninges which surround the brain and the spinal cord. And even something like this. I'm just going to, like that is a bottle of water hitting the ground like that is like a 15-mile-an-hour impact of a car, and that can damage the brain. So what we also have then is what I call Dr. J's brain formula.
B-R-A-I-N.
B-R-A-I-N, exactly. And so the first point is B stands for blood circulation. It's very important for us to get all the blood circulating to the brain and oxygen. Those kind of damages from traumas, that can cause a constriction in the meninges which surround the brain and the spinal cord. So things like acupuncture, there's a technique we do called neurologic relief center technique, which we use these tools. That can help to open that up. The second one is R stands for removing toxins. There are a lot of toxins in the environment, and also we were talking that mercury in fillings and lead are also damaging to the brain. So clearing that out is very important to help to reduce the chances of dementia.
Got about 55 seconds left. Let's go ahead and go through.
So we got A, which is avoiding sugar. Diabetes is a big issue. And it's also, Alzheimer's is called type 3 diabetes now because of that connection. I is inflammation. We have a lot of things that can cause inflammation in the body and cause a leaky brain syndrome. And then N is names. Practicing remembering people's names creates associations in all parts of the brain, and so that keeps the brain more healthy.
Working the brain on a daily basis. The Kazuku, what is it? The different crossword puzzles that you can use.
Sudoku. Yes, exactly.
I know my mother does that a lot. We were talking about with the dementia. My father has dementia, and one of the things that my mother wishes that he would have done was to work longer and longer, even though he retired like at 65 years old.
Absolutely.
So how can folks get a hold of your book and get a hold of you as well?
Well, if they go to superbrain-thebook.com, they can get all the information, and we also have special online survey that they can do, as well as a special report that goes over in more detail what we discussed today.
Very good. Doctor, thank you so much for
being here. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Now we've got more coming up after the break. Stay with us.
This segment was sponsored by the Redwood Clinic.